as far as the aggressiveness and the caginess, I see a lot of Ricky and Jeremy, and as far as a lot of his technical ability and talent, I see a lot of Jean-Michel Bailey and Jeremy.
Damon Bradshaw, rider number 8, is holding off the rookie, Jeremy McGrath. Number 3 is Mike Kiedrowski, and number 5 is last year's Orlando winner, Mike LaRocco. Now, McGrath was exceeding expectations, but it didn't last. As a result of that little off-track excursion, McGrath will be passed by both Kiedrowski and Mike LaRocco. You can call it rookie nerves or whatever you want. Fact of the matter is, Jeremy let his arms get pumped up. Holding on to the Honda was a problem. Meanwhile, Damon Bradshaw, the leader, having problems of his own and was still recovering from knee surgery. Didn't trust the knee on the track, and he was getting tired. He decided to move over and let others pass.
In Orlando, the year started off pretty good for me. We went there, it was right off of my knee surgery. And we got there, and we haven't got a chance to do as much testing as we would like to do, but you know, fortunately the bike was pretty good. I got off to a real good start. I was able to whole shot the main and was riding real well, and my physical strength wasn't quite there yet, you know, from being off as long as I had been, but I rode real well, and I ended up finishing third, and you know, I was happy with that. I led the race as long as I could, and I dropped back to second, and then once I got into third, I kind of stayed right there with the guys, so I felt real good about that race.
Kiedrowski would eventually pass Bradshaw, and LaRocco would follow suit. You have to wonder, if McGrath's arms had not pumped up, would he have been in position to take advantage of Bradshaw's fatigue? In the few laps remaining, LaRocco moved to the rear wheel of Kiedrowski. Kiedrowski bobbled, and LaRocco made the pass, like he did in 1992. LaRocco came from off the pace to claim the opening round of the 1993 Supercross season. Gate dropped in the Astrodome. The whole shot went to Larry Brooks, rider number 17. Bradshaw, McGrath, Stanton, Kiedrowski, Cooper, and a host of others were close behind. In the early laps, there were several position changes, but Bradshaw made only one. He took the lead.
In Houston, it obviously went very well for us there. I got off to a good start and was able to win the race. I was just real confident. You know, I was ready to win, and you know, people kept asking me about my knee. Well, you know, how is your knee? Is your knee bothering you? And you know, and it wasn't bothering me whatsoever, and I was just tired of talking about it because I didn't want, if I was to do bad or something, I didn't want them to say, well, it's his knee surgery, you know, because it didn't have anything to do with that. I was fine, and you know, with the knee surgery, fine, everything went okay.
Like in the season opener in Orlando, Jeremy McGrath got a hole shot that put him close to the front of the pack. Jeff Stanton passed Jeremy, dropping him to fourth, but Jeremy was able to come back and get by Brooks to move to third. That was as close to the lead as he would get. In fact, a few laps later, the Honda rookie would fall victim to a pair of veterans, Mike Kiedrowski and Suzuki's Guy Cooper.
In Houston, I got a pretty good start, and I think lack of confidence and a little bit of nervousness made me fade to fifth. In Orlando, I finished fourth, and I think I was just basically feeling my way around. I really wasn't trying to win. I wasn't, I was just kind of be, consistent.
While Jeremy McGrath was being consistent, Guy Cooper was on the ragged edge. He's number 7.
Crowd really got behind me whenever I moved into third, and then whenever I passed Stanton for second, that kind of like made my day. I was pretty happy there. I had a long ways to go to catch Bradshaw. He was, I think, even 8 or 10 seconds ahead of me. It was quite a ways in front, and I tried a lap or two trying to go about the same speed I was going before, but I was already riding pretty sloppy. There was a lot of times where my feet were flying and I wasn't hitting all the lines real good, so it was better to just hang loose, ride smooth, and be happy with the second that day.
For Guy Cooper, it was the final Supercross season in his career. The Houston Astrodome fell to Bradshaw, Cooper, Stanton, Kiedrowski, McGrath.
After the first 2 races, Jeremy found himself adjusting to the new experiences of 250 Supercross. Early in the year, he struggled with arm pumps, but began to slowly build self-confidence with his consistent efforts. Here's a quick look at some of the real winners of Supercross in 1993, with some insights into Jeremy's philosophy about winning and losing. You know what they say, no pain, no gain.
Well, in the whole series, in the whole year, there's some races that, you're going to win, and hopefully it's most of them. But when there's a day that you're not feeling up to par, you know, it's not like I feel that I have to go win every single race. You know, for me, winning is great, but when I don't win, I don't go throw, you know, tantrums or anything. You know, I just wait for the next race and, you know, try and make it better.
Jeremy has a philosophy about winning that goes hand in hand with losing. He can lose a race, and if he put forward the best program he had to offer, then he knows he did the best that he was capable of doing that day. We all know that these kids aren't machines, and you can't tune them up and let them go. If you have an off day, if your heart beats a little different one day from another, your timing goes away. When your timing goes away, maybe somebody else is on. You never know what that reason would be for losing.
My dad seems a little bit, he gets a little upset, I think, sometimes when I'm so easy about not winning the race or anything like that, but I think it's better for me, and I think I'm doing what's best for me, and if I don't let it bother me, then I'll do better the next weekend.
Going into the Anaheim Supercross, Jeremy and I had a talk, and the last thing that he was to hear from me was the fact that he owned Anaheim. He had never lost a professional Supercross there, and that this one belongs to him, and he knows it.
The first heat race at Anaheim is underway. Steve Lamson, McGrath's teammate, is in front, followed by Bradshaw and McGrath. Now watch the upcoming move Jeremy McGrath makes that will give him the lead. And we'll see it again. Bradshaw and Lamson will beat up on each other. Now the key is the instant decision Jeremy McGrath makes to change directions and grab a handful of throttle. It's the kind of move that builds confidence. It's the kind of move McGrath did not make in the opening rounds of the series. It's the kind of move you need to be a championship contender. With that move, Jeremy had arrived in the big time.
In Anaheim, press day, Jeremy was very, very relaxed and confident and riding quite well. So I was very confident in his performance there. And he ended up passing Jeff Stanton at the beginning of the race and maintained about a 3-second advantage through the entire event and ended up winning his first event, which is very impressive.
In Anaheim, I came to Anaheim thinking that I had a good chance of winning the race, and I think the most spectacular moment was probably I was coming around Jeff, I was following him, and I jumped past him, and I went on to win the race, so that was probably the greatest moment for me in my life up to that point.
The 22-year-old rider from Murrieta, California had just passed the defending Supercross champ and had done it in convincing style. He needed to maintain the pace and avoid mistakes. It was a tailor-made scenario for McGrath's fluid and precise style of riding. Skip Norfolk, McGrath's mechanic, urged the young rider on from the mechanic's signal area. He wanted Jeremy to know he was not alone on the Anaheim track. It was obvious to all that McGrath had the tools to win. The question was, would McGrath fade as he had done in the previous 2 races? The answer would come at the end of 18 more laps. Behind McGrath, Stanton maintained control of second place, while Kiedrowski held third. Bradshaw would eventually finish fourth. We can only speculate what was in the minds of the veterans. They had to be thinking, though, that this was just the beginning of a long season. The key to the championship was being around and in contention at the end. Had they known that Anaheim was the confidence booster that would signal the start of a Jeremy McGrath string of wins, they might have tried just a little bit harder.
Well, a lot of people were razzing me about fading the last 2 weeks. You know, who's to say if it's going to happen again? I feel that I'm in shape. You know, I feel the only thing that was holding me back was arm pump. And today, you know, I settled a little bit behind Jeff, and then I just went ahead and went by. And then I just stayed smooth, really. You know, it was nothing special.
Next on the schedule, the Kingdome in Seattle, Washington. At this point in the series, there was no indication that any one rider would dominate the 1993 Supercross season. There was, however, a strong indication that Jeremy McGrath would be a force to contend with. The indicator was McGrath's ability to get out of the gate and be one of the first riders through corner number 1. Supercross tracks are tight and narrow. Passing is extremely difficult. Thus, if a rider continually starts at the head of the pack, he has a huge advantage over those behind him. In the early going of the season, McGrath displayed an incredible quickness getting out of the gate. Seattle was no exception. The first-year Honda rider got the whole shot, and it was catch me if you can. Suzuki's Brian Swink, number 19, was up to the task. According to Jeremy, it's a continuation of a longtime rivalry.
Yeah, Jeremy's right. You know, we've been arch rivals for the last 2 years on 125 because I was a dominant guy on the East Coast. He was in the West. So every time we'd meet, you know, it would be who's going to win, you know, me or Jeremy. And it was always pretty close, I think. You know, everything was real close, and I guess he just progressed a little faster than I did. In Seattle, I got a good start this year. I started, I think, 4th, and Jeremy hole-shotted. By the time I got into 2nd, he was quite a ways out front. It took me a while to close the gap, and I knew he'd been 6th, so I knew the last few laps, you know, it'd be my time to make a pass. And with about 1 or 2 laps to go, I made a quick pass. He cut back underneath me and got back by me. And then last lap, a lapper got in my way and put a few seconds in between us, so, you know, I had to settle for 2nd.
Here's another look at the pass attempt. It appeared Swink had the perfect setup for a block pass. McGrath, though, seemed to sense what was coming. Instead of riding the berm as he had in previous laps, he hit the brakes and dove back under Brian Swink. At the finish, Jeremy McGrath with his 2nd consecutive win. Hard to tell who was the happiest, Jeremy or Skip Norfolk, Jeremy's mechanic. Perhaps Skip knew the victory had vaulted Jeremy to the top of the Supercross point standings. Suzuki's Brian Swink finished 2nd, while Mike LaRocco of Team Kawasaki was 3rd. Damon Bradshaw, Jeff Stanton rounded out the top 5.
Yeah, in San Diego, I got off to, I think I was about a 3rd or 4th place start, and worked past a couple riders and got into 2nd, pretty much stayed in 2nd the whole race. McGrath, he had a pretty good lead on me. He got off to a good start. I think he hole-shotted, and I just ran in 2nd for probably the last 10 laps of the race.
That description from Mike Kiedrowski was a little on the modest side. He started well back in the pack and was only 6th at the end of the first lap. Kiedrowski rode a tough race to capture runner-up honors. McGrath's ability to get off the line was the key to success.
In San Diego, I again got like about a 5th place start. Jeremy hole-shotted. I seen him going out front, and you know, I knew I had to go right away and get behind him, because if I waited